Hello again. Welcome back to Asgard and welcome back to Celestial Journey. So last main episode we got the spreaders, of course. And then we kind of had like a little like side extra episode sort of thing for those of you that watched it where we went to the Between Lands. So I have been working on the base since then and you can see a lot of work. My statues are being buggy. Like, I don't know, my character's here. So I'm counted as online. I've got to check. I didn't update the pack, so that probably had to do with it um, whenever I updated that. So I've got to look into that, but that's no biggie. But anyways, you can see I've put some weedwood walkways out through here, and these, of course, give you speed 2 when you're on them. And I've started plotting out a fairly large room that's going to house our first batch of magical crops. The reason being, we need to get into some crops, A, for food, but then also B, because we're going to start automating mana and using flux fields and all that fun stuff. And I want something that's automatic because it's very much in our wheelhouse of abilities at the moment, I think, to go ahead and get something that's fully automatic and super efficient at the same time. So we've got a kind of a multi-step phase of things to do. And if you recall, I mentioned even though we're going to have power, I want to try to do things efficiently and try to do things in ways that don't necessarily need power if I don't have to have power. Because the less power that we have to generate to run our base, the better. So we're going to be setting up something, working on something today that's not going to require power, but it's going to handle agricraft crops for us. And while we're over here, let's go ahead. I went to the Between Lands and I gathered up a bit of wood. And we're going to go ahead and just get ourselves some crop sticks because we're going to start into a little bit of agricraft today. Not a ton on camera, but we are going to start into a little bit of it. Quest complete, the beginning of agricraft. I don't have my quest book on me. 1 second. And let me dump off, let me go ahead and dump off some of this stuff for right now because we don't need it right this second. And, yeah, oh, and I've been working on the base. I should take you on a little tour of what's been going on. Some of this water is all the way up 3 blocks high now, the swamp water. And then the backside of it, I'm still shaping up this end of the build. So this part is not quite there. It's 1 block deep for the most part. And if we head over, I've got to get Silk Touch. Either through a silky jewel on like a Madoc or something to that effect. Because I want to get some swamp grass over here. I did do a little bit of enchanting between episodes. Did not manage to get Silk Touch book, but that's fine. I mean, we'll be getting the enchanter before long too. But over, this kind of comes around right now, and this is going to be kind of a pillar of stone that comes up through here, and this path is going to go around. And we're actually going to kind of have a market type area. That was actually something that was suggested on the Discord by Denulhole1. And I really like the suggestion. It was about maybe making like a marketplace that uses statues and has statues around the marketplace to make it feel lively. But in addition, our marketplace, he suggested having them have like different wares and stuff available for sale. But if you recall if you watch the extra episode, if you recall, I mentioned that we're going to be doing storage in a different way, some way that we've never done before. It's going to be kind of spread out. Our marketplace is going to be our storage system. So we're going to have different stalls and things like that with drawers in them where our items are stored. So our storage is going to be spread out all throughout this marketplace. But instead of having just a building where everything's stored, there's just big drawer networks, I think it'd be more fun to have the storage network through the marketplace. So the marketplace is going to kind of span out around through here and all that. And we're going to have kind of some swampy grass and then like little probably weedwood chip walkways, I'm thinking, that act as our pathways for a lot of the build. That's not on platforms like this. So worked on that, and then basically a lot of digging. A whole lot of digging since last episode. But you can see I've started shaping up a lot of this with our between stone. I've still got to add some other blocks in there, maybe some ores, maybe some pitstone, moss, things like that. I haven't gotten to that part of it yet. And then back over here, this is actually going to be the other edge of this upper layer. So it's going to be kind of like a natural stone bridge that kind of runs off across. It makes this like cavernly section down there. So, and then this area here, which we'll get into that later. So, but yeah, it's been a lot of work, a lot of digging, a whole lot of digging, but it's been fun. So anyways, we've got our crop sticks. Now what I want to do, the first seed that we're going to be going for is going to be coal seeds. These right here. Now we're going to have to get Prudentium essence, which means we're going to have to get an Inferium infusion crystal, which is imbued slate. Easy enough. So let me get an imbued slate real quick. And there we go. There's our imbued slate. And our quest book, right here, we've got the beginning of agricraft in this little section. And then Inferior Seeds. Okay. What we are going to do now is to make Inferior Seeds. They are standard recipe. Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and get our base crafting seeds and then our Inferior Seeds. And that completes a quest. Oh no, they actually want just tier 1 Inferior Seeds. Okay, well let me go ahead and do that so it's out of the way for us. So there we go. Okay, and we get 2 golden apples from that. And then they want us to get the Inferior Infusion Crystal. We're actually going to get some quests done today. It's crazy. Okay, so that is like that. Boom. And we get 16 Inferior Essence for that. And then they want us to get Prudentium. And for this, I'm going to need... It's weird because it's only a tier 1 crafting seeds to get our tier 2 coal seeds. Let's go ahead and get our 2 Prudentium. And don't forget, you can put mending on these crystals if you don't want them to break. And then there's Prudentium Infusion, Water Seeds. Not really sure why that's after Prudentium Infusion and why that's locked. Oh, it's probably make this now and then that plus that. It makes that I guess. Because we need Power Base, Potestis, Aqueous. Well, no. Daring Base. Alright, well, I'm not sure. But anyways, for our coal seeds, we need this, we need that, and we need 2 coal. Which actually, I've got coal in this. I've got coal everywhere down here. And then we throw this into there and let that run. And then while that's running, let's go ahead and take a look at our clippers. What do we need to make these? They are shears, iron, and redwood. Okay. Really quick, let's go ahead and put in our... let's see, we'll do our coal seeds like right here. Filth and lies. I'm pretty sure it will grow. That's actually a bug. But I'm going to put it over here just to be on the safe side. So, there's that. And then let's go ahead and get our clippers. Get some sticks. There we go. And then I also want to get the seed analyzer as well. So for this, we are going to need to get ourselves some ladders. And I was thinking it was a glass pane. I'm used to the standard seed analyzer recipe. But I'm also going to need a blank slate. So there's that. And let me pop back up and go get a piece of glass. And we're going to need some stone slabs. Okay, so there's our seed analyzer. Quest complete. And for right now, this is just going to go right over here. And let's see, this is still slowly growing. Very slowly. Not enough where I can use clippers. I can't see the percentage on this pack, but that's fine. I think I can change it in like a config or options, maybe, but I'm not too worried about that. But But I have to wait basically until this is big enough to grow. Or to be clipped, I mean. Now, one other thing I want to do is we are going to need to get ourselves some mana generation. We need to get this started. Now, today we probably won't be doing flux fields for power. I know we've been working on that, but there's a few things that we need to do to get our mana generation system automated to where we can actually make use of our flux fields. And by the way, this is all swamp water down here. It does hydrate your farmland just like regular water does. So, but what we're going to have to do, let's pop up, and I'm going to need to get endoflames. This is what I want to get today. And so that's brown, red, light gray, inferium coal, which is just some inferium and coal, and prosperity shards. And I've got enough, I'm going to go for 6 to start with, which is more than what I need, but, well, maybe not. 6 might be a good starting point for us. Okay, so for this we need brown, we need red, and we need light gray. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're just going to bone meal our flowers, get ourselves a nice little stockpile of various petals. There's that, there's that. Now I'm going to need 6 of both of these. And then, kind of curious, can you use swamp water? I doubt you can use swamp water with a petal apothecary, but that would be kind of cool if you could. That. Boom. And then, right click. Let me grab these out too. There we go. Okay, and I've got enough for one more now. There we go. There's 6 endoflames for us. Okay. Now what I need to do, let me grab our mana spreaders. Let me grab this mana pool. And let me grab some coal also. Because I need to generate just a little bit of mana right now. It doesn't need to be a lot. Just a little bit. And we're just going to set these up in kind of a temporary little spot for right now. We're just going to put it, say, right... we'll say right here. And then we'll have our mana spreader setting there. And we'll have our endoflames. Like that. Oh, and it's not connected at the moment. Let me get... we're going to go red and light gray. Let's get ourselves a wand of the forest. There we go. Okay. Now we're producing mana. And then what I want to do, let's get our bone meal, our shears. Let me go ahead and grab all this also. That coal did not produce much. Doesn't matter because we're not going to be running coal for very long. But just starting out we are. It may be set up so endoflames are weaker too. Or it might have been because I wasted a lot of mana. Because I didn't have a wand of the forest to start with. But I don't know. But anyways, so what we're going to do now, let's take our bone meal. Let me just bone meal that, and let me grab that grass for now. And we are going to... see, let's take our grass. Let's throw a couple in there and get some pasture seeds. And then I want to get 2 Horn of the Wilds. Boom. And one of these I'm going to dump in there. That's just kind of for personal use, so we've got it later. Let me go ahead and grab this. And I need to get some smooth stone running, because I don't have a whole lot of living rock at the moment. And I'll put that in there for now. Yeah, these don't last very long at all, which is fine. It's not really a big deal, but get a little bit more mana. Okay, we're gonna use that other endoflames soon. We're gonna make them floating this episode because I don't want ground-based endoflames. Though I'm curious. If I grab a piece of swamp dirt, will this sit on top of swamp dirt? Because I am not sure. It will. It will actually sit on top of swamp dirt. So that's good to know. Okay, so that's running. Let me pop down here. And let me check on this. Aha! It's grown. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to take our clippers, and I just need 2, 3 clippings from that. And we're going to go ahead and drop them in the seed analyzer. That's going to give us our coal seeds. So that way they're 100%. And then we're going to drop these down there, there, there. And we're going to get that growing. Okay, now what I want to do, I want to get a drum of the wild. For starters, we're going to need a couple pieces of leather and then living wood. I am going to have to pop up to get leather, but that's it. And I actually don't have much. I have 1 piece of leather. So I'm going to have to go out. I could make it if I had the infusion catalyst for Botania. But that's fine. It's not too big of a problem to pop out. It is raining, which is regrettable, but I forget that there's weather on this pack because we live underground so much. Or we're underground so much. We live underground, but... Okay, so let's go ahead and get our Drum of the Wild. There we go. And then I'm going to want a Pulse Mana Spreader, which is... oh, it's not Redstone. It's Redstone Repeaters in this pack, which are like that. That's fine. I don't need it right this second because I've got to do a whole little setup. We are going to get that here in just a second, so... and we are going to set up our Drum of the Wild setting. I'm thinking I want it like right here. Yeah, I think I want it right there. And the way Drum of the Wild works is anytime it receives a redstone pulse, like a spreader pulse, from a pulse mana spreader, it's going to basically do a Horn of the Wild effect, and it affects a 25 by 25 area. Now, something worth noting that's kind of cool. Let me grab our Horn of the Wild. You'll notice that it does not break crops that are on crop sticks. Does bone meal work in this pack? It does not. Okay. But, for example, if we did... Just grab that. If I had one of these planted just on the ground like that, and I did Horn of the Wild, you'll notice that it breaks it. So agricraft allows us to not break our crops off the crop sticks. But the really cool thing is, if they're fully grown, they break when hit with Horn of the Wild. So, that is what we're going to be using to harvest our plants. It's a whole lot cheaper on both power and on resources than a plant gatherer. Because that's like that. Plus you have to make the upgrades. Like if we take a look at industrial foregoing, to get it to be a 25 by 25 range, you would have to make this upgrade right here, which is not terribly expensive, but it's also a lot slower because it has to check block by block every single slot, right? Which, as far as agricraft-based harvesting, that's one of the only other methods outside of like golems or something like that, which are later into the pack. But Horn of the Wild, super cheap, or Drum of the Wild, and it covers a 25 by 25 range. So it's actually probably the best harvesting method, I think, in this pack. And all it requires is a very teensy tiny amount of mana. And the way we're going to use it is, as we expand these farms out, like right now, I'm only going to have like this first crop and maybe a pumpkin crop. I need to figure out what we're going to be doing so I can level that with it. I am going to do pumpkin alongside it. And that covers food and power. So I don't know if we'll do a whole lot else right this second. But we'll definitely have food and power going. But the thing is, like, the Drum of the Wild just breaks X amount of crops. I can't remember exactly how many it is. I think it's 25 every time it activates. So what I'm thinking is we're going to have our Horn of the Wild that goes off, you know, every so many ticks, right? It's going to go off basically on a timer system. But as we get more crops in here, we just speed up the timer. So eventually, you know, maybe it's every 5 seconds it activates and it's just like breaking crops in this room that are then picked up by dedicated hopper hawks and are sent to processing or wherever they need to go, is what I'm thinking. So let's go ahead, scan these real quick. Which right now, we're going to have to get some stuff together to be able to make hopper hawks. They're a little bit, they're not really like expensive, but doing a few of them, they are going to get expensive pretty quick. So anyways, there's pumpkins. We'll start growing those also. Now we should be able to use agricarnations, and those should work with our crop sticks. So we may do that to speed things up, but we'll see. Basically, I've got, there'll be 20 5x5 plots in here of crops for this first little crop area. And I think 20 crops to start with is actually pretty good because this pack doesn't have Pam's Harvest Craft or anything like that. So that's not something that we have to worry about. Let's go ahead and get our pulse mana spreader. There's that. Let me go check on these. These will take a little bit before we're ready for them to go. I mean, for them to be 10-10-10s, but that's fine. Let's go ahead and get that breeding. And realistically, once our system's up and running, we won't be doing our breeding over here. We'll be doing it like out here or something like that. You know, for later crops, once we start it up, because it would be breaking this stuff, and we don't want that to happen. So, which I'll show you as soon as this breeds for the first time. I'll show you with the Horn of the Wild how we're going to harvest. But anyways, what I need to do is I'm going to have to run a line up let me go ahead and just mark as here, and I've got to figure out exactly where that's at in terms of the upstairs area, because that's where this is going to be being sent, and that's where our first mana battery is going to be. So it's important that we line this up well. So it's over there. And I've got an idea for the mana battery. I took a couple days, as you could probably tell by the build, I took a couple days and just thought about it. Plus I was a little bit sick. That's like, I think episodes this week will probably be a little bit lighter just because I don't want to get behind because I was sick, you know? So we'll see. But let's go ahead and dig down. There we go. And what we're going to do, we're going to put our pulse mana spreader. This would be, that's like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, something like that. We're going to go ahead and set it up there, because that's going to kind of be like the top of this room, and we're going to bind it straight down to the Drum of the Wild, is what we are going to do. And then it still hasn't bred yet. It'll take a little while for our 10-10-10s to get, you know, rolling in. I need to set up like a dedicated plant area. What's it take for like growth accelerators in this pack? They are defaults. Okay. Yeah, we'll definitely do a little growth area. And then agricarnations, once we get mana really up and going, they are also default. Of course, the runes are a little bit more expensive, but that's okay. And then Hopper Hawks, I think, are runes of air. I think it's default recipe. No, they take Prudentium ingots too, which is fine. That's just dark steel with Prudentium hopper. But then rune of air, that's where I was gonna start off. I think just using one of our vacuum, because the other vacuum systems are a lot cheaper. The Hopper Hawks, like a lot of things, magical things in this mod, are way more expensive for some reason. Even though they take more, either take more resources to run, or they take, I don't know, more of a setup, or not quite as powerful, but they're more expensive. Okay. But Divine Journey was the same way, so So what we're going to do next is let's go ahead and make ourselves another mana pool. Because this is going to have to go on top of our mana spreader that's over here. So we'll just drop it down right there. And then let me go ahead and just remove that here waypoint. And I also want to test it and just see. If we do that there, it looks like these can be planted on crop sticks. So we'll probably level up in Inferior Seeds also. Yeah, okay. So we can do those in addition. And then let me go ahead and get our pumpkins going. Looks like it's probably going to take a little while for these to breed, but that's fine. And then to keep it kind of magical, we're going to go with a hovering hourglass for our timer. Okay, so there's that. There's that. And I need the gold, which I've got from killing Cyclops. So there's that. And we're going to need that in addition. That's for our pulse mana spreader. And so there's that. And I'm betting, I haven't looked, but I'm betting that weeds are disabled in this pack. Easy way to tell from my experience is if a pack has vein miner, weeds are going to be disabled. Like 100% of the time, I think. Most packs don't run weeds anymore. But there are still some packs that do. Okay, so there's that. And I think that might be where our hovering hourglass. I might move it as this room comes together. We'll see. But basically, whenever it, you put a different, like a variable amount of sand in it. And sand is basically 1 second. Red sand is 10 seconds. And soul sand is a minute, I think. Or I think that's right. I think that's right. It's been a little bit since I've used one. But basically, you set the amount of time based on the types and the amount of sand that you put into the hovering hourglass. So let me go ahead and just open this up just a little bit for us. And the next thing that I'm going to want is basically the pulse mana spreader. It does reduce the amount of mana that's sent per burst, but you can reduce it even further using some type of lens or combination of lenses that reduces the amount of mana that's sent. Oh, but that takes a run of air. Okay. Let me get a Lexica Botania so I can double check on all the different lenses. I can't remember exactly which all ones reduce the amount of mana per blast. But ideally, you're gonna send the least possible amount of mana per blast, because it doesn't matter with a pulse mana spreader how much mana you're sending, because it's gonna do the same thing. You know, if you send the smallest amount of mana possible, or if you send the most mana possible, it's not gonna matter. Okay, so there's our Lexica Botania, but what's nice is the only mana that our farm is going to use, all the resource that's going to use is just that small amount of mana that we're sending through the pulse mana spreader. That's going to be it. Unless we use agri-carnations or something like that, which that's just all excess. I mean, if you have a 10-10-10, especially if you have 25 10-10-10 coal seeds, you're going to be putting out a lot of coal. And then whenever you see what we're going to do to make it even better. So, but we're going to look here like Velocity Lens. It loses mana a lot faster, but it can also carry a bit less. We're looking for stuff that carries less mana. Messenger Lens would be good. Massively decreases the amount of mana a mana burst carries. Also drastically increases the burst speed and maximum distance. Which is good for Mana Detector, Drum of the Wild, Animated Torch, yada yada. Which is just a mana lens with paper. That's perfect. And that is just like that. Okay. So what we're going to do, I may or may not have enough mana in here. Yes, okay, cool. So we need a little bit of mana to start generating our mana. I am going to have to pop up and go get some paper. I don't know if there's anything else we want to add with the messenger lens, because you can add them together. I mean, bounce lens would be cool, like have it bounce, but Rune of Summer. No, I don't think so. We're going to be using a lot of these as time goes on, like the damaging lens and stuff like that. We are going to be using those, but not today. Okay, so there's our paper. And then let's do that. What is that accessing the pedal apothecary? Is it? I think it is. Let me try something. If I throw in like Inferium. Haha, yeah it is. Interesting. I don't guess I ever knew it could do that. Never noticed that before. Alright, let's pop down. And they still have not bred. Wow. That's okay. It seems like it's slow, which isn't really a big deal. Let's go ahead and put that on there. Now, long term, we might do Velocity Messenger, because then it's going to move like crazy fast, and it's going to carry like hardly any mana at all at that point. So we will probably end up switching over to that. Which, if you want to combine them, it's just the 2 lenses plus a slime ball. It talks about it in the Lexicon Britannia, of course. Okay. What's it take to make... let's see. Maybe it'd be worth getting my sprinkler for this. Because we could speed up the breeding speed with that. But I also don't mind it taking a little bit, because I've got to cut for a minute and start clearing out some of that room up there, so we can start setting up for our very first mana battery. There we go. That one grew. Let me go ahead and fill this up. There we go. Okay. So now we're all set. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab 2, 3, 4 of those. You can also grab the base seed. I'm just going to grab it like that, though. And, for example, Horn of the Wild and Drum of the Wild do the same thing. Just one's a block state, one is not. And for demonstration purposes, if I take Horn of the Wild now, you can see it harvests everything. But it leaves the crop sticks and it leaves the plant intact. Which is wonderful. Wonderful stuff. Into here for right now, just because I don't have much space. I got to set up a chest over here. We're about to cut though, so. But you can see I got a 1, 2, 1. Oh my god, that's terrible. And then I got a 2, 1, 1. Also terrible. 3, 1, 4. Yeah, and so then we basically just have to get these leveled up. I'd like to get these 3 to like 10, 10, 10s, ideally. Most importantly, of course, being the coal seeds, because if I can get those up to 10, 10, 10s, then it's gonna put us having a lot of coal coming in. Wow, that either crossbred. I don't think it's probably any better. No, it's a 314, just crossbred or duplicated. And you can also do, of course, agricraft sprinkler system, which will probably set up in here once I get the ceiling kind of started, you know, and once everything's in order, then we could set up like an agricraft sprinkler system, which is going to speed up this entire room by a substantial amount. So, okay, so now that we've got that up and going, I'm going to cut for a bit. I'm going to do some infrastructure work, open up that top room and get us set up to actually start setting up our mana battery, the start of our mana battery, which is basically just going to be like 1 spreader. And right now, it's not going to be much at the moment, but we'll start getting that stuff set up, and then I'll be back here in just a little bit. Okay, it's been a little bit. I did manage to get these up to 10, 10, 10s. For example, if we break open this one, you can see it's 10, 10, 10 coal seeds. And then there's also Inferium. And you can see I've slotted some little drawers up here. These are just pitstone bricks and wheat wood. It's actually like the solid, well, it's that wheat wood. And this is what I did with limestone. I didn't like that much, so. But I went ahead and slotted those out through here. And I haven't done these back farms, but I've got plenty of farms to keep me busy for now. And then I also kind of adjusted the height of the ceiling. I brought it down a little bit so it's a little bit more compact, and I like the way it feels more than the big open ceiling. Plus, I can have the drawers here. Eventually I'm going to have hopper hocks directly beneath these. And then we'll probably have some solignolias as well around through here. So once we get ring of magnetization, it's not going to affect us. But yeah, one thing I am going to do. And I did get some swamp grass. I made a silky jewel for our stone mattock, which will still harvest swamp grass even when it's broken. But one thing I do want to do, let me pop up, and let's get ourselves some living rock. And I think what I want to do on this is I want to change it over to a diluted mana pool instead of like a full mana pool. For this, originally I had a full mana pool because I was thinking, well, I'll probably move some mana off of this to other things. But no, I think this is going to be just for the drum. I'm honestly not thinking that I'm going to do too much in the way of agri-carnations down here. And the reason being, I think it would look cooler with the agricraft sprinklers. So we're going to be setting up a sprinkler system from agricraft. So, and I've made spaces for those to go. So we're going to use a diluted mana pool. That way it uses, less mana. It stores less mana in the system. Now, what we're going to do, I did set this out. Got another set of projectile bases made, and we're able to make a couple more mana spreaders. But I'm going to go ahead and pull this one up for right now. And, wait a second, I'll put my wand up. Oh, and I also made an open crate and an analog grafter. I've got a few things in here we're going to be using today. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a mana spreader that sits right down here. And we're going to go ahead and just bind this down to that mana pool, which it should have enough distance. It does. That's great. And then what we're going to do, which I am going to be, for right now I'm going to be running just a regular, I think, a regular comparator out of this. But long term, we're going to do red string comparator for this. But I made this one because I was thinking about running the comparator out the bottom. But I really want this mana spreader just sitting down here, facing straight down into that mana pool. And it may shift. We may end up setting up a mana splitter here. But for right now, we're going to do kind of somewhat of a temporary system because we're going to be changing this a little bit more next episode. But we're not going to get to it this episode because there's a few things that we need to do to change it how I want it to be changed to. Let me grab that. Let me grab this. And let me get whatever flower I have the most of. We'll just go with like light blue. That's fine. And let me get, I want 6 glimmering light blue flowers. And then we're going to need one more piece of grass. Okay, so what we're going to do, let's go ahead and toss in all this grass. Oh no. Well, we'll start with 4. We'll start with 4 for a minute and then we'll change it over. Let's go ahead and get ourselves some floating light blue flowers. And then let's turn these into floating endoflames. And then let me just grab both those mana spreaders. And what we're going to do, let's set up, how do I want to do this? Because this is going to be temporary until next episode. So let's just do, we're doing a little bit of temporary systems, and that's because of the fact that I don't have the materials for red string. I don't have the materials for hopper hawks. I don't have the materials for a lot of things at the moment. So what we're going to do is let's run out, where did you go? Comparator. And we're going to bring this out like that. And what we're going to do, I believe, our potentiometer, I think, can plug directly into that. Which potentiometer, basically you can set this. And we're going to say 14. And basically that's going to tell it that it's a 14 signal going into this comparator without having to do like a lever and a piece of redstone or something like that. Like for example, if I run this out, you can see it's 14 redstone power coming out of that. Yeah, this will work for now. eventually it's going to have the endoflames actually sitting up above this, I think. But there's a couple things I want to get for that, like my red string comparator and stuff. So let's go ahead. We're going to have, right up here, we're going to have an open crate setting there, which is going to drop down onto a pressure plate. And then we're going to have hopper setting there. So let's put a block there. Yeah, we'll do that. So, or I could use a repeater right there. But this is just temporary, so it's going to be kind of an eyesore for right now. So basically, if something's on the pressure plate, it's going to stop the hopper. If this is filled up, it's going to stop the hopper. It's just a really, really quick, dirty setup for Botania Endoflame for right now. And then we're going to have, let's see, we're going to have a mana spreader setting right up here for now. It's going to point down to that. And then we're going to have our floating endoflames setting here, 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 here. That should be fine. And all of these are going to power that spreader there. And then I'll put another 2 right in here in just a second. Okay, so then what we're going to do is let's pop down. That's most of the temporary system stuff that we're going to be doing this episode, I think. So let me grab a little bit of this coal for right now. Just so I can go ahead and get this running so I can get the other endoflames done here in a second. And we'll just drop in coal into there. So you can see it drops a piece, endoflame eats it, and then it drops another piece. And there we go. That's going to start pumping in some mana into this. And it'll be sending it down to the mana pool below. Like if you pull this up real quick, you can see it's sending it down to there at the moment. Which that diluted mana pool is going to fill up pretty quickly. Chances are, yeah, I mean you can see it's already a good ways filled at present. Okay, now one thing I want to look at really quickly is what's it take to make a mana tablet? Whoa. Never mind. And I'm assuming that goes into making, yeah, the Band of Mana. Okay. So in that case, I don't have much mana in this pool anyway, so I'm probably just going to break it off just to get it out of my way. Because we're not really going to need it since we're moving into automatic mana. And by the way, can I go ahead and make those other endoflames right now if I use this diluted mana pool? Which is already nearly full. This thing's not going to store very much mana at all. And we'll go ahead and get our other 2 floating endoflames. That coal doesn't actually last very long. We're going to be making it last a whole lot longer, though. Now, I believe coal is this one right down here. Yes, that's Coalescence. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to set up, well, actually, let me pop up out of here really quick. Let's see, coal is this one. That's what I was thinking. And one thing I do need to do for right now, simply because I don't have a harvesting system for this, I need to actually break this stuff off. For the time being, until we get into Hopper Hawks. I'm not gonna be running the Inferium, I don't think. Now, if you want to do the pumpkins, like if you want seeds, all you gotta do is do this. For these. For example, like if you need more 10, 10, 10, and if once you have these to 10, 10, 10, once the strength is 10, these clippings will take 100% of the time. Basically, for every strength, it's 10% chance to take on clippings. So all we're going to be running right now is coal. So let's go ahead which I may make some more vacuum systems or just try to push onto the Hopper Hawk. Hopper Hawk's what I'd really like to have, but we're going to need to actually run a vat and stuff before we can get that as well. And, oh, let me get one other thing here. And I'm going to have to make some more item ducts. That's fine, though. We're going to go ahead and turn some of these into opaque ones. And that's because we're not going to be able to see these. And so it's going to be better for our FPS if we don't have them visible. Though I do want the visible ones actually visible. So we're going to do opaque item duct there. And we're going to put a servo on. And this is on the coal drawer. And we're going to go ahead and say that you can ignore redstone requirement. And we're just going to pump this up to, yeah, let's go ahead and just bring it up to there. And then we're going to set up an analog crafter. Now, I wanted to do a crafty crate for this, and we may eventually change it to a crafty crate. But crafty crates are a bit later in the pack, unfortunately. So we're going to have an analog crafter. And we're going to say, I need to get some of that coalescence. Alright, so to make coal with coalescence, it's like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to disable that middle slot, and we're going to say spread items and sticky. Keep at least one of each item in each slot. And that's going to start running. It's going to start making us coal. There we go. And honestly, I kind of wonder, there's no XNet or any kind of good item. I mean, I guess we'll have to wait for the blood nodes, because that would be the best, like, performance. I don't know if I'd rather go with conduits, honestly, over the thermal pipes. I might. Let me pop up real quick and go get maybe a couple crafts of conduits instead of thermal pipes. Because it's like, I want to use thermal pipes because they're visible, and we'll use them a little bit in places where they're visible, but I'm starting to second guess doing the opaque ones. Just run that up. That. Insert. Okay. So we'll run that up, and then what I'm going to do, we're going to have the analog crafter making us the coal. We're going to have a drawer, and this drawer pattern may change before too long, but we'll see. But we're going to have this pump up to here. And then once we get the painting machine, we'll paint that. And let's go ahead and we're going to say that you can insert, you can extract always active. So there's that. And I've got to make a key and lock this drawer and the one down there, which I'll get to that. But then, so we've got our coal. Now, this is where things are going to change a bit. Once we move this whole system, the pipes are actually going to go up and then into a dropper system kind of more above this mana pool for our, our first little mana battery system here, which this one will be small in comparison to our later ones, but this is our starter mana production system, which will be endoflames. Our later ones will not be endoflames, but I need mana to make mana. So what we're going to do is, for right now, we'll just bring this out. I'll have to make a couple more item ducts, that's fine. I'll probably unopaque those, but we're going to go ahead and just put on a servo here and say ignore. So this can start pumping over coal for us. And if we give it a second, there we go. It's not going to be super fast. I mean, these only move 8 at a time. But it should be plenty fast for this thing. Especially once we get the efficiency upgrade next episode. Which basically we're going to be, next episode, we're going to be doing a little bit with GP production. Because I want to start producing halfway decent red coal. Is what I want to do with this. So that way it's actually really efficient coal power. But we'll dive into that next episode. And then we should be able to get our flux field set up next episode. Now, right now I don't have hopper hawk, so I'm going to put our vacuum hopper that we made for our mob farm. I'm going to plug it up right there, and I'm going to just hold right click and turn it. Should be the top. Okay. So this is going to plug, it's going to pump its items up into the frame drawer. Alright, let me go get a key. I really need a key. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get a void upgrade also, because we are going to need it. And there's our key. And then let's go ahead and just lock in our coal. Okay, so now what we need to do, let's pop down to here. Let's go ahead and lock that drawer. And let me toss in Coalescence into that. Okay, so that's locked up. The vacuum hopper is ready to go. If I do happen to toss something on the ground, like, oh, oops, I dropped my key, the item hopper is just going to grab it, the vacuum hopper, so I can just check those until I get, like, actual hopper hawks. Because with a hopper hawk, it's going to be filtered, because the only thing that it can connect to right there is that drawer, which is only allowed Coalescence inside, so it's not going to pick up anything but Coalescence in that case. You can see this is already filled up. Anyways, what we're going to do now is we're going to pop down here. And right down here, if we move this out of the way, you can see there's my hovering hourglass. And for right now, I'm going to set this to a minute time limit, which I double checked in the Lexica Britannia, and it is sand is 1 second, red sand 10 seconds, soul sand 1 minute for your times. And of course, you can do up to a stack of any given sand. So I'm going to pop in our soul sand, and we're going to put that back, and we're going to jump out of here, hopefully in time to see the drum go off. Shouldn't be too hard to do. Okay, so if we pop down here in just a second, the hovering hourglass should go off and send a burst to our drum. Or the hovering hourglass will go off, activate the pulse spreader. The pulse spreader is going to send it down to the drum, and then it's going to activate. I'm going to turn off my UI for just a minute here. And we should be just about to go off. There we go. And you can see it just harvested everything in here and dumped like over 4 stacks of Coalescence into this drawer. Just poof. And so it's going to do that once every minute. And it's sending such a minuscule amount of mana that even without our efficiency increase, you know, it's going to be almost nothing. Now, right now, it might be wasting a little bit of mana. I could probably do like 2 soul sand or something before this grows. I don't think it's going to grow any of these in a minute. But maybe once we get the agricraft sprinklers going and once we have more crops planted out in here, like the Inferium, and we have the pumpkins, you know, things will be a little bit different then. So, I'm going to leave it at 1 for right now because, like I said, it's so little mana that it really just does not matter too much. But you could make it slightly more efficient by setting it probably to 2 minutes pre-sprinkler system. But, I mean, you could say we're making a huge net gain here. And we've got 4.5 stacks of coal at the moment. So, and this is still kicking away. It's not super fast. As you can see, it takes about 12 seconds per craft, but it crafts 12 coal. So it's making a coal per second right now. Later on, we'll make it a bit better. We might switch over to crafty crates, or we might just upgrade from the analog crafter. But truth be told, especially once we do the efficiency increase, I don't think it's going to be important at all to do that. So that's a good start, I think. We've got auto farming going on, albeit just 1 crop at the moment. Once we get hopper hawks, we'll bump it up. You know, I'm going to add wood essence seeds. We're going to get our pumpkins, our Inferium going, and then we'll, I don't know, add some other seeds to it. No Pam, so we're really just focusing more on the magical crop side of things. And then we're going to do pumpkins, though really before long we won't really need pumpkins either, but it'll be fine for the time being. We'll run those. So anyways, we're going to end out this episode here. Next episode, we will, I know I said this episode we were going to get Fluxfield started, but then I was like, well, I want to go ahead and get coal running. So we got the basis of it up and going this episode. Next episode, all we have to do is really, really quickly cover GP power, get that up and going. I want to set up water meals and maybe fire meals if I get the stuff in place for those, but we'll see. I'll probably move on to the next recording pretty quick so I can go ahead and get that built and underway. But anyways, next episode we will we'll get into the GP power and then we'll get the flux field set up and then we can start powering some machines and things like that. And then I think after that, we'll probably start moving over to our ore processing system, which I decided I don't think is going to be machine-based. I don't think we're going to be using machines for that. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be really, really fun stuff. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. If you did, as always, be sure and hit that like button and go ahead and subscribe if you're not already. Stay updated with when new videos come out. And I hope to see you guys next time. So until then, as always, do take care. Stay safe. I'll see you guys then.